The Nintendo Switch 2 could be pricing itself out of the market. Maybe. Hello folks, this is Seppi the Nomad here. You're watching Nomad Games. I have about 5 other videos to be making based on the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct, but this one is just something that I want to get out of the way. I see a lot of people talking about this, and I kind of want to get this off my chest as well. This is going to be talking about the Nintendo Switch 2's pricing. So I don't see too many people talking positively about the pricing, and I think there's a very good reason for that because I think it is just unanimously agreed upon that it is not good. There are some things that are like okay, and there are some things that are just straight up egregious. And we're just going to hop into this. So let's go over the pricing of the main console. The main console is going to be $449. I think this is disappointing, but sort of reasonable. And the reason I say it's sort of reasonable is because we have waited 8 years for the Switch successor. The market's different, inflation is different, times are different. Not only that, but this is a pretty substantial upgrade. This is a pretty powerful piece of hardware. You know, there are going to be other handhelds that are more powerful. There already are more handhelds that are more powerful, but this is still looking really good. And as far as what the system can do, the upgrades for certain games, which we'll talk about, it can provide, and just the specs and the quality of the product, I think $449 is, again, disappointing but reasonable. But I do want to state, there are a lot of people, including people I know, that this price has knocked them out of it. Like this has priced them out of the next Nintendo console. And that is not something I think Nintendo wants. I personally was hoping for $399. I think that was still a pretty reasonable price for a Nintendo console. And to get that, this is going to be a little bit controversial. I think that I would have rather had a slightly less powerful console. Slightly less, not too much less. Not like it feels like a Switch 1.5, but slightly less powerful. Maybe not 4K upscaling or anything like that, or maybe just at least not a 120 frames screen, because while frame rate and performance is most important, I mean, over or under on how many games are ever even going to hit 120 frames on that console. Like, yes, obviously they showed off that you can do it on Metroid Prime 4, but we're probably not going to see too much of that. Hopefully I eat my words, but even then, 60 frames is fine for most consumers, most gamers. And I think I would have taken a console that was like maybe just capped at 60 for a little bit cheaper. That's just my take. I don't know. You guys can let me know what you think in the comments down below. Moving on here, the Mario Kart World bundle for the consoles, that's going to be $449. So $500 for a console and a game. Okay, this begs the question, like, what will the OLED Switch 2 cost? Because they're probably going to do a refresh with an OLED screen and maybe some other upgrades. And hopefully there's no like major hardware issues right off the bat, like Joy-Cons, where it needs like a physical update, but like we're probably going to get an OLED, right? What is that going to cost? Is the OLED base model going to be $500 or $529? Like, that's a little bonkers if you ask me. And before we swing back to the games, let's talk about some other accessories here that are quite ridiculous. The camera is going to be $50. First of all, I don't see much praise for the camera. One, it doesn't look very good. Two, while yes, it is applicable for certain games, including Mario Party, which could be very fun, I just don't know how many people I want to sit there and like FaceTime with when I'm not looking at their face. I guess there's like a little bit of a hitch in that logic because you can see their face on screen. So like if I want to, you know, play Switch games with my best friend, I could see his face too, which I haven't in a while because we live in different states. So that is kind of cool. But even then, it's just like, you're not going to want it on all the time. You're going to want to get up. You might not be wearing pants. You might pick your nose. You might scratch your butt. Who knows what you're going to do? There are parental controls, obviously, but I just feel like there needs to be a lot more for parents. I have a lot of friends who are parents, and I just think that they're not going to be entirely comfortable with a vaguely stated parental controls. Now have this. And game chat with a camera. So, you know, what can you do about that? Well, you could just not buy the camera, or you could just not buy game chat, because if you don't pay for it after the first year where they kind of like tease you with it and you decide not to pay for it, well, guess what? That C button is entirely useless. You have a button that does nothing on your Switch. I don't necessarily know how I feel about that one. Moving on here, we have the Pro Controller. That is $80. Now, this is probably the only one where I'm not outraged by it, because typically Pro Controllers for anything are pretty expensive. Like, I'm not going to lie to you guys, it's a little bit of a luxury, but I have spent $200 on controllers before for other consoles. And the Pro Controller looks pretty good, and it's got the C button that might not do anything, and it's got extra buttons on the back that are programmable. So I'm not outraged by that, but I think just in conjunction with everything else, it's a little bonkers. Joy-Cons. Here's something funny for you guys. You want to hear how much Joy-Cons cost? $90. Big ones. Hey up, fool. $90 for Joy-Cons. I just don't see it. The tech is cool. Don't get me wrong. I just don't see it. Let's circle back to games now. The video games. $80 for some of them. $70 for others, which is already a price hike. We were already gritting our teeth hoping that every game's not going to be $70, and now they flipped the script on us, and now we're hoping mainline games, first-party Nintendo games, are $70. I don't think that's going to be the case. Mario Kart World is $80. The bundle's kind of a good deal because then the game's only $50. It's not a good deal. That was a joke. For those of you that didn't realize, that was a joke. $80 for video games. That sets a bad precedent. Are physical games going to be more? We don't know. There has been a rumor that the physical version of Mario Kart World is $90. I don't know if that's true. That has not been confirmed. I have seen screenshots that indicate that's the case. However, we don't know for sure. Nintendo has not confirmed that themselves. $80 though. Going back. $80 for video games. You buy 3 games. After tax, you're already encroaching on like the mid 200s for 3 games. I hope I did my math right on that, but that's a lot of money regardless. And it feels like so much more because there are Switch games that are 50, there are Switch games that are 60. And it's one of those things where 80 to possibly 90 just feels like so much more. So much bigger of a leap. And there are reasons for it, obviously. The industry is not shy about admitting that they want all your money. They don't want just some of your money. They want all your money. Now with inflation and with the rising costs of producing a video game mixed with other things that are going on, what do we do? What are we going to do? Companies want all the money. And if they make even a penny less than what they made last year, they're a failure. They're not even worth it. Throw the towel in, give up, go sit in a ditch. Like, that's their mindset. And Nintendo is not exempt from that mindset. And we like to think that Nintendo is like a family-friendly company, but they are not always the most consumer-friendly. And I think it's fair to say that. This is just setting a precedent where other games, maybe if they don't even have to deal with tariffs, if that is a factor, or other things, or rising game costs, maybe they'll just be like, well, this is the industry standard, folks. Why don't we just start raising our prices? We could make more profit. And then spend even more money on games that get closed down in like a couple of weeks. You know? Yeah, it's just a dangerous precedent, and that's not good. And it's especially not good for Nintendo. I go back to my argument of Nintendo is known for, this is for everyone at a lower price, not a luxury item. Now they're making a big boy Switch, and it seems more like a luxury item. And they're flipping their business model to, this is not for everyone, it's for those that can afford it. The cost of everything is getting more expensive. My food bill is through the roof. My rent is going up. Everything is going up. It's just a nightmare. To be frank, it's completely becoming anxiety-inducing just to get by financially. Forget about saving money. And now we have to deal with hobbies and luxury things that we like playing video games. Maybe they're even social things. The only ways we can connect with our friends are now becoming so expensive and pricing us, like Nintendo is pricing us out of their next generation for a lot of people. So it's a little freaky to think about that. But here's the other thing too. There are some upsides, and then there are some really wacky things that I just don't even want to talk about in here, honestly, but we're gonna. So the upside, there is a list of Nintendo Switch games, including Mario Odyssey, that are going to be getting just like base natural upgrades, just, you know, maybe sharper resolutions, maybe higher frame rates, nothing too crazy, nothing like Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom and Kirby Forgotten Land and like that, where they're getting like, or Kirby at least is getting like actual DLC, and Legend of Zelda is getting this half stupid, half pretty cool app. After I saw the treehouse on Legend of Zelda today, where they were playing Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild and showing the comparison between the Switch 1 and the Switch 2, I was impressed with the upgrade, and the app does look like it has some social features, but we're here talking about price, baby. So that brings us to the not so great part. Even though, yes, we're getting some free upgrades, the upgrades that they showed us for the Switch 2 edition games are going to be paid, and yes, we get some things out of there. So Mario Party Jamboree almost has like an entire DLC tacked onto it. It looks like Kirby has some sort of small DLC tacked onto it, plus the visual and performance upgrades, which is pretty cool, but there is going to be a price on that. That's kind of expected. Here is the really stupid thing. So here's a scenario. Maybe you walk into a shop. It's got some sort of item that you want, but you're not really sure about that item, or you don't know how to use it. So the clerk gives you a little demonstration of how to use it. And then you decide that you don't want it, or maybe you do, but you got to, you know, come back another day or save up a little bit for it. And before you walk away, the clerk bushwhacks you and tells you to pay him for that demonstration. Well, welcome to Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour. This is a game that should be the pack-in game, but you have to pay for it. And they even say, this is a paid game. Buy it if you're interested. It's literally just a demonstration where you walk around and you click on parts of the Switch 2 that have, text pop up about what it does and maybe some demonstrations and some mini games. It sounds kind of fun, but it just looks like a very small tech demo that should be free and they're charging for it. They're charging you for a demonstration of how to use the $450 console you just bought and then spent $350 on games. Oh, and I cannot stress this enough. Boy. That's not good. So we have some issues with the Nintendo Switch 2, and I just wanted to talk about this because here's the thing, ultimately, at the end of the day, I am excited for this console. I've been looking forward to playing some of these games like Mario Odyssey and Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom and Kirby on a better console that can run it a little bit better. And I'm just excited to see what Nintendo has to cook up. I love Nintendo. So it's something that I am still excited for. And we're going to talk about a lot of the cool things that they're going to be doing, a lot of the cool social features, a lot of the cool specs, a lot of things that they definitely showed off and announced, but kind of flew under the radar, like VRR and things like that. It's just, there's a lot of really exciting things going on with Nintendo. It is just hard to wrap my head around the pricing for it. Now, I'm gonna revise that statement. It's not hard to wrap my head around the price for all of this because this is what companies do now. This is just what they're doing. They're just raising the prices of everything. Yes, economics, business, inflation, I get it. But my paycheck hasn't gone up much lately. Yeah, chill, Nintendo, on the pricing. I had to talk about this because it's getting to a point where it's hard not to talk about. Because now a lot of Nintendo's user base, they're not talking about how excited they are to buy the next Nintendo. They're talking about how they can't buy the next Nintendo. And that's a big problem. So yeah, this was just my little video. I expected this to be 5 minutes long. I probably rambled. This video is probably 10 to 12 minutes long. Thank you for sitting here and watching it. I really appreciate it. Like, comment, subscribe if you haven't already, and I will talk to you guys in the next one.